Well, hello, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I really don't know which one I'm going to post this up on Instagram. I think it's going to be a little too long, so it'll probably be Facebook. Earlier today, you hear me doing this thing? I didn't used to do the thing. Maybe I've been away from public speaking on stage a little too long, and I need to get back to it because gets aggravating after a while. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Earlier today, I said I was going to give you a short briefing of a series I'm about to do, and it's called From Religion to Relationship. And I know this is did you hear it? I'm going to call myself out every time I do that, so get used to it. The series started back in 2010, believe it or not, and I just never finished the series. I started talking about it and said I was going to do the series, but I never did the series, and now here I am. Which I'm cool with that because there's a season for everything. And back then, it was probably not the time for me to try to talk to people about religion to relationship because I was really at war with religion at the time in 2010. So maybe, and not maybe, the actual fact is it was the best time. So the reason why I wanted to do this series is because over the years I've counseled too many people than I can actually count, up in the hundreds probably. And many of them have this thing they do with me when they first come and sit down and we do an intake. One of the first things they want to let me know is that they're Christians, they're children of God, which, okay, that's fine with me, but why are you here with me? And normally we get away from the religion conversation and we get into the purpose of them sitting in front of me about their situation, their issues. In our conversations, in our exchanges, I would always learn that the people that profess religion to me right off the bat were the ones that were the most disconnected from their faith and their God. And that's just not for Christians or Muslims or Jews. It's for a lot of people who profess a religion, but there's a disconnect between them and their religion and them and their concept of God. And so I decided to do a series back then to try to bridge a gap. Even though I'm not Christian, I'm not a part of an organized Muslim religion or any type religion at all. However, I understand how important faith and spirituality is to us humans. I have yet to explain why it's so important, but it is important to us, even me. I am quite militant, as some people think. They used to call me the militant midget or Malcolm X number 2. That's Maurice Adair. That's what he loves to call me, Malcolm X number 2. But my goal never was to be some confrontational guy that people learn to hate. But I don't mind making people dislike me if it makes you think. So that's fine with me. So the series is called From Religion to Relationship. And the reason why I'm focusing on relationship is because I'm finding out that a lot of people are disconnected from a lot of things. They're disconnected from their family. They're disconnected from their careers. They're disconnected from themselves. And they're disconnected from the most important part about their life, their God and their faith. And I've always asked, and a lot of people when I talk to them and they can't pinpoint, and sometimes I really can't pinpoint why this is such a phenomenon, but I have a strong idea. And the idea is simply this. Years ago, as a little boy, I heard Reverend Bell give a scripture about Christ and the Bible. And one of the things he said that day was, I am that I am. He said, tell them that I am sent you. And as a little boy, I was always curious, well, who is I am that I am? And is that God's name? I am that I am. And I asked my dad and he says, Ken, and everybody calls me Ken. Ken, you just ask too many questions. When you get older, you'll understand. Well, nobody ever explained it as I got older. And then I became religious, so extra religious. I didn't curse, I didn't drink, I didn't watch television, I didn't listen to worldly music or the radio, I didn't go to the movies, I didn't go to amusement parks, I didn't wear shorts, I didn't wear short sleeve shirts, I couldn't hang around certain people because to me they were the devils incarnate. And so I became super religious, but without a relationship. I was so empty on the inside. But if you looked at me from the outside, Brother Tim, as they call me, had all his ducks in a row. He was always in order, very robotic, very methodical. I talked to a lady the other day who hadn't seen me in 30 years. And she said to me, a friend brought her to my house. She wanted to see me really, really bad. And she says, I remember you from 1990. And in 1990, oh God, you were such the militant little soldier and so hard and so perfect. And I looked at her and I said, 30 years, and that's what you remember of me? And she said, yes. So I looked at her and I told her, I said, look, that was all outer appearance. And the inside, even though I appeared on the outside to have everything in order as a young man at 20 years old, I was doing pretty good. But my soul was rotten. My soul was lonely. My soul was confused. There was so much going on at the time. And it was because there was a disconnect between me, the person me, and my faith and my God. And so what changed that for me? This is going to be me in closing because the series is going to take care of all of this. I questioned I am that I am. Years ago, as a little boy, I questioned that. I questioned it when I became a minister myself and spoke it from the rostrum, as we used to call it. I questioned I am that I am. And because the reason why, not and because, was because I could not see myself as big as God. You see, for me to even fathom the idea that I am a part of God, I had to actually see that much power in me and on me. And I didn't think that was me. So I never absorbed that into my psyche or received it into my spirit until years later. I ended up being out of the Nation of Islam. I ended up leaving organized religion altogether. And I started seeking relationship. And not just so much with my faith or my concept of God, but relationship, period. Because I realized that because of certain traumas as a child, I disconnected from the world. And a lot of us, we've done it. And my disconnect was a complete disconnect. That's why you could hear me say years ago that I'm always surrounded around people. I'm very popular. Some people say I'm charismatic, but I could be around a crowd of people who damn near worship me. And I feel lonely. I feel outside of what's going on, even though it may be all about Tim. The whole day may be Tim speaking or something Tim's doing, but Tim wasn't there. The persona that I created for the public was there. And the disconnect is why that happened. Why I did not feel whole in my religion was because of the disconnect. And the disconnect started here. When we as people see ourselves separate from everything around us, it's the idea that we're individuals that cause us to start to disconnect. I'm different from my family, so I disconnect. Nobody understands me at work, so I disconnect. My spouse wants me to be something I'm not, so I disconnect. So the disconnect starts, and it's like a never-ending thing. It's like a snowball down a hill, and it starts this big ball or avalanche, and before you know it, it's too big for even you to handle. And then one day, I sat down and I thought about Reverend Bell and my dad, my stepdad, who was a minister as well. Yes, I am a preacher's son. So is my little brother. We are preacher's sons. I was adopted by him, but I'm still his child. I don't see him as an adopted parent. I see him as my dad, just like my little brother, he's his biological son, sees him as dad. I see him as dad as well. I started pondering I am that I am. And lo and behold, I see a documentary here recently that confirmed what I already knew for years, that I was missing the point. The documentary put it in very simple terms of how this happened, this confusion. It said the code, I am that I am, is a code, but the equation is missing in part, a comma. I am that, comma, I am. And that totally changed everything. It totally changed how I viewed it, even though I had already changed how I viewed I am that I am, but it totally changed how I saw that scripture and how I saw myself and my surroundings. Prime example, this happened, and I'm about to close. I'm driving down 385 in Greenville, and this lady is in front of me, and I could tell it's a lady by the hair from the back. And she's really getting on my nerves. I want her to get out of the way. She's driving too slow. If I moved over, she moved over. And in my mind, immediately I thought, she's doing this on purpose. And I call that a negative ant, fortune telling. It's one of those negative red ants that crawl around on our head that make us do crazy things. I had no idea whether this lady was doing this on purpose or if she even knew I was even there or anything. But in my mind, she was doing it on purpose, which, okay, maybe she was, but I have no proof of that. As I passed her the second time, when I got by her, I looked at her. And normally, mine is, hey, lady. But I looked at her. And when I looked at her, instead of being angry, I just smiled. Because immediately, this popped in my head. I am that. I am. In an instant, I saw things differently. I really saw the whole situation differently. And in that short period of time, I thought, I am that. To somebody, maybe behind me, maybe 2 cars behind me, I'm impeding their progress. I'm slowing them down. I'm in the way. I'm the source of aggravation. I'm an irritant to someone. I am that. I am. So that kind of changed my whole ride home. I wasn't upset anymore. I calmed down. I drove myself home and I laughed at myself because I asked myself, Tim, why do you have to go through this? Why do you need this level of confirmation all the time? But that's just Tim. That's how Tim is. Well, now when I look out the window and I have red birds, that the bushes outside of my window in my office, they're always there. And this morning I looked out and I said, I am that. I am. Now, am I a winged bird? No. Do I live outside? No. We're not being that simple. I'm not being that simple. But when I looked at that red bird this morning, I realized that I am as much a part of the red bird as the red bird is a part of me. And that's where relationship starts. It's when you feel like you are a part of that which you speak when it comes to your God, your faith, and your religion. Now I understand goodness for goodness sake just doesn't apply to humans. It applies to the tree. It applies to the ant. It applies to the bird and the fish in my world. So this series, hopefully, it's going to be a 12-part series. I'll talk about my logo. The logo is actually what's going to drive the conversation. My cousin, Jermaine McCullough, shout out to you, Cuzzo, at ICU Photography. That's who did my artwork. That's who did my logo design. And I really think you should reach out to him. He's a really cool, laid-back guy. I mean, way more cool and laid-back than the rest of his family because we're 5-star artists. That's basically, and Jermaine is even-keeled. You love him. So reach out to him if you need any photography, artwork, web design. Reach out to him and he can handle it for you. But our conversation is going to be driven by this logo. We're not going to get into the logo, but everything on this logo has a meaning. And our first 12 parts will come from these spokes. The next 5 parts will come from the points on the star. And then the closing will come from that one. So I promise you this is going to be a great series. I promise you're going to love it. You're going to take notes. You're going to laugh. I may piss you off a couple of times. Who knows what's going to happen. But what I do want you to do is I want you to log in. I'll make an announcement that I'm doing it at such and such a time. It won't be live. But it'll be a time where everybody can see it. I will do some live Q&As, probably. Maybe I'll do a series and do a Q&A after. I don't know. Let's just see. But I want to have some fun. Let you see Tim a little bit. I know y'all for years have seen me post like crazy on Facebook. And I just feel like I can get more done by doing it this way than writing those long dissertations on Facebook. And I think you could agree. So I really look forward to doing this series. I hope you tune in and listen. I hope that you learn something because I hope to learn something from you too. I hope the conversations and the comments are vigorous and we just enjoy one another and learn from one another. That's all this is all about. So I thank you for giving me this little bit of time and I'll talk to you later.